excited, like Elaine said last week, of Ditch the Pitch. It's really good. It's principles, that basic things that everybody should know, and just general conversation, but really in this business. So we discussed habit number 1 last week, input before output. And this week we're gonna build on that with size up the scene. So I want to share my screen with you. Okay, does everybody see that? Okay, so number 1, know who you are with and who before what. Focus on the personality, the character, what motivates that person, and what is their interest. And then the last one in that group is personalize the conversation. So we are going to unpack some of that today. And what does it mean? Know who you're with. We read some of the bullet points, but let's go deeper. Who is in this room with me? There are some areas that we need to figure out when you arrive on the scene or on the call. You really need to learn to be a quick study. And that is not something you're born with. That is something that you learn by doing and listening, and you will learn to do that. Character. Who exactly is this person? What are their personal characteristics? Now, just by them talking, you can learn a little bit. And then context, what's happening in this person's world. So you want to listen to hear who this person is, what they like, what they dislike, what their needs may be. And guys, there is no one size that fits all to this communicating with your prospect. Each person is unique, and each conversation is unique to the 2 of you or the 3 of you, and it's fresh to you and it's fresh to that prospect. So you're gonna ditch that pitch and you're gonna go from the heart and learn to be a quick study. Okay, the first 3 seconds of a meeting, a prospect should size up, you should size up the prospect scene, and the prospect will size up you. The first 3 seconds are crucial. With the tone of your voice, you know, I like to talk loud. Lane likes to talk loud. But if you're talking to somebody like Harriet Salzer, then you're going to lean in and you're going to talk soft. Because if you talk loud, you're going to scare the bejabbers out of somebody. So from what tone they are using, soft, loud, fast, slow, you need to be like a chameleon to that scene. Adapt your conversation to this particular situation, this person. Now, I always like to do research. And before my husband and I ever go to a party, when we used to go to a party, he would say, okay, I know who's going to be at our table. Tell me about this person. Tell me about that person. Tell me. I'd be like, what? Do your research before you get on the phone or meet someone for coffee or go to a party. And let me tell you, Facebook can tell us a lot about a person. And if I can't dig enough on that, I just call my sister-in-law, Jane. She's like Nancy Drew, and she can tell me everything about that person. So this will help you to be in the same scene as that person you're talking to. Like before any Zoom, you guys that I have been on a Zoom with, you know, if I need to know about that prospect. So I asked the upline, who will also be on that Zoom, for a profile sheet. I think you have one in the Revolution, and then we have our own that I can share with you guys. But you fill it out, and it's a fillable one. You fill it out and you fax it, not fax, you email it or text it to me so I can look over it and know about this person. I go into that conversation knowing a little bit about who this person is, what's going on in their world, any expressed needs they might have shown. And that knowledge prepares me to be on the same page as the prospect. It's no way of knowing everything you need to know, but it's a starting point. And by knowing how I will ask the questions and how much I should share about myself sets the scene for a more inviting conversation. For instance, if you're going to talk to a 60-year-old woman, you need to know, are her kids, they've left home? Or does she have kids? Is she married? Is she divorced? Does she work? Does she stay home? Is she unhappy with her job? All that, because then that way you can make your questions to deal right with that person. You won't be all over the page. Do not go into the scene with expectations. Go in with one thing in mind, getting to know that person and making them feel at ease. The prospect is wondering who you are too. So search for similarities that you both have and stick to that. Remember, say less. Only pertinent answers is best. If this prospect is a young mom, I would bring up how Juice Plus, I wouldn't bring up how Juice Plus has helped me with joint pain. I would bring up the fact that Juice Plus gives me more energy. What young mom cannot use more energy? So you listen for the things you have in common and you stick to that. You just stick to that. Okay, so the next thing is understand the context of your conversation. Seek to understand the prospect situation and any issues that they might be having. So I know you can think of a lot of things with that. I want to give you some examples. I'm going to move y'all's pictures over here if I can. Has anybody seen the series Heartland? Raise your hand if you've seen that. Listen, last night was the last one, and I'm just like, can't deal with it. These people are like family. Heartland. Okay. So there's a scene. We're going to go to one scene in there. It's where Grandpa Jack is a cattle rancher, and his ex-son-in-law, Tim, and his ranch partner, Mitch. They have a chance to seal a huge deal, very profitable, of convincing this family-owned company to buy their beef, okay? Okay, so now the ranch hand, Mitch, he asked his girlfriend, who is a pro on sealing the deals. You know, she knows exactly, that's her forte. So he sits down with her and he says, okay, what should I say? And she tells him, 1, 2, 3. This is exactly, don't veer from that, say that. Okay, so that's what Mitch is gonna say. Mitch had an agenda before he went into that conversation. And he had expectations of selling their beef to this company, okay? Okay, now let's go and look at the ex-son-in-law, Tim. Tim has his own idea of how to seal that deal. He is hardcore. He thinks he's got it. He just butts right in like a bull in a china store, and he says he tries to force the deal. He starts throwing out numbers and money, and this would be good for you, and this is how much we'll make, and this is our final offer. Okay. Grandpa Jack, he takes this gentleman from the family-owned beef company out to look at his ranch on this beautiful rolling hills of his farm. Grandpa shares how this land has been in his family for generations and shares how much it means to him and his family. Well, which one do you think impressed the family-owned company more? See what I mean? Grandpa sized up the scene. He did his research of this prospect and he shared about the importance of family and their family ranch cattle business. This similarity of the two was just exactly what that family beef company was needing to hear. Communicate who you are before you try to communicate what you're trying to sell. A prospect is more likely to be wondering about you than any product you might ever want to share. Most of the time, a prospect will buy a product from you because they trust you and they value your advice. And then you don't have to tell them everything. They buy because they trust you. And then you can start educating. So focus on who before what. Understand the characters before you develop any story. Seek to understand what's going on and recognize there's something deeper. There's always something deeper, guys, behind it. Example, when you're talking with a prospective partner and you ask them, why do you want to do this business? I have two questions I ask when I get on the phone with a prospect. First one is, why do you want to take Juice Plus? Or if they've been on it, what have you found happening with Juice Plus? Or if they're just starting, what are your expectations? So, and the same thing with the business. Why do you want to do this business? And here's a great answer that I'm sure you all, it's like, okay, I love to help people. That's great. That is so great. This company is full of servant-hearted people. But you know what? You've got to dig deeper to get this person to visualize what they can do because of this business. You peel them back layer by layer until they realize what this business could afford them to do. What do you want that you don't have right now? You know, maybe it's a new car. I had a lady not long ago and she just wanted to help people. But when I kept asking these questions, I need a new car. My car is just awful. I need a new car. Okay, now we got somewhere and we can build on that. Help with college funds, help a charity, add more onto your home, quit your job to be at home. Or maybe, just maybe, that prospect partner doesn't need any of that. But they do need something we have. They need a sense of belonging to a community, that sense of passion and purpose. So many people, guys, are looking for that. Sometimes you have to ask the right questions to get to the root of their needs that they may not have allowed themselves to dream they could actually have. We must listen and read between the lines for little clues to get the real story and see the conversation just flowing. And remember, input before output. You speak 10% of the time and let the prospect speak 80% of the time. You listen to hear what this person needs and what they're looking for. You have to listen not to make a sale or to bring on that partner. You listen to understand who this person is and what they need, way before you can fill that need and add value to your product or your business. Sometimes it may be helpful to practice with a family on listening, even if you have to use duct tape to keep yourself quiet. That is something we need to practice. I know I do because I'm like Elaine. I want to finish this sentence. If they just going on and on, I'm just like, come on, let's get with the punchline. Never go into a conversation with an agenda. Conversations are fragile. And by listening, really listening, you could hear amazing things. My husband and I can watch the same exact movie. And I hear one thing and he hears an entirely different thing. We all hear different things. in a conversation. Is it right or wrong? No, it's a skill to listen and hear exactly what that person is feeling and what they need. Relationships are first before you can help a person realize what they need. You may have something to offer them, but if you don't listen, you're going to miss it. The most important thing to remember whenever your conversation happens, relax. Talk with your heart, not your pocketbook, and listen to really know what that person is, and learn to adapt to the surroundings and to get on the same playing field as your prospect they're talking with. Don't assume anything. Make sure you do not size up that scene before you hear what this person is saying. Even though you have done your research, be able to just go with the flow, be spontaneous and relax, and make this prospect relax and let their hair down. Okay? Okay, now the next one is listen for the game. Okay? And that one is be aware of the emerging dynamic, tone, and mood of the conversation. Adapt your approach to the conversation accordingly. So sometimes your prospect has a deaf ear, and no matter what you say or what you do is not going to make a difference. It's true. We all have been there. Maybe because of what's happening in their world right now, or they are consumed with other problems. That's okay. We learn big word, patience. It's huge in this business. This is just not the right time. Okay? And don't worry about that. Let me give you an example. I have this friend, her name is Suzanne, and she works in a fabric store, and she has helped me many times with selecting fabrics for my home. One time I walked in and she shared with me that she had just been diagnosed with RA. Oh my goodness, those wheels start turning and I get all that verbiage in my mouth. I'm just ready to spew all over the place because I know Juice Plus would help her. And I did not size up the scene. I just started talking away how I knew Juice Plus would be so good for her and spouting off about the research and how Juice Plus could help our autoimmune system. I did not listen to hear she was overwhelmed by just getting this diagnosis. And the last thing she needed was someone else telling her what she should do. Information overload's what I call it. She was very busy trying to help a lot of people, dealing with this diagnosis, and the scene was just not right, nor was the timing. Okay, let's fast forward. Last week, I go into this fabric store. Suzanne was there. It wasn't busy. In fact, it was very quiet. And I could tell Suzanne was stressed. But listening to her gave me a chance to realize that now she was ready to hear about how bad her diet was. She told me, I eat horrible. I don't like anything green. I eat terrible. And this medicine I'm on is killing me. I need help. The difference? I let her talk and I listened to what she needed, and she was not distracted by other customers or noise. And Suzanne said, I'm ready to try Juice Plus. So right then and there, I got her on Juice Plus, and we started the journey of staying connected and sharing more information about her health. And I'm going to get her on the shred. So to sum up habit number 2, go into the conversation to genuinely get to know that person. Keep the conversation going by adapting to what that person is saying and the similarities that you might have between the two. You must learn to reel that conversation back in to just learn more about them and stay on track with good questions that only pertain to your similarities and to that person. Remember, not all conversations will result in a sale. or a new partner. Be patient and seek to dig deeper in this situation and what's going on with this person. A key thing to remember in any conversation, make sure, and I've said this before, but I want you to really write this down, make the conversation be all about them. If they ask you something about yourself, answer with a very short, simple answer that has some similarity to something they have just told you. Okay? And this is important. When you leave a conversation, this is so important. The way you made that prospect feel will go so much further than anything you could have said. So that is all I have. I don't know if you want to open it up for questions or ask people stuff, Elaine. You're muted.
I do. If you'll quit sharing, I have an exercise. Okay, let me just make sure.